Good evening. This is the Rowley Finance Committee meeting for Wednesday, June 26, 2013. It is 7:23. And just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded audio and visually. First item on the list is a discussion with our town moderator, John Peterson.
Well, good evening. It's the annual reappointments. So 3 members of the Finance Committee are up for reappointment. Steve Roman, Karen, and Jack Tomento. So I came to speak to the members to see if you're still interested in serving another 3 years.
Sure.
Okay, that was an easy one. I have talked to Karen, and she says she is too, and I will be talking to Jack Tomento and get you back. So maybe we'll have a nice, easy transition come July. The appointment is July 15th, so that way it's perfect. And I think it's Jamie and you next year, if I believe so, for in another year. That's how we'll go.
Okay.
So
I could volunteer for it.
I'm
Go out
volunteering
early.
again.
Go out early.
No, but that's good, so at least I know where I stand. So I'll keep you posted and let you know if there's any changes. Okay. Thank you.
Have you been in contact with Jack as far as?
I'm talking to the family.
Okay. All right. Second item is the reorganization of the Finance Committee. I'm going to wait until Karen is here for that and go to the reserve fund transfers. And let's see.
So Larry, there are no reserve fund transfers for tonight.
Okay.
Just number 5, the interdepartmental, there are 2.
Okay, thank you. All right, first interdepartmental transfer. Assistant Town Accountant wages to Accounting Department expenses. Transfer $650 from line 16, election expenses, to line 17, Accounting Department expenses. And I think we all have a budget. Other than that, it's just election expense. I think it's on page 3 is the election expenses. They're transferring $650 from the election expense to line 17, Accounting
That's a typo,
Department.
that's this budget line here, it should say, you have an attachment. That's line 16 and 17 in the FY13 budget.
So,
On the transfer sheet. Yeah, you're looking at the budget.
yeah,
I'm sorry, it's right here. This was a typo, it was here. 16 and 17 in the FY13 budget.
right.
So it's not coming from,
Big election, no.
it's just from the regular.
Yeah, it was a typo when we were trying to update the form. Assistant accountant wages.
Okay.
So it's covering an existing negative balance.
Okay. Okay, so I'll need a motion to make the transfer.
I'll make that motion that we
Okay.
transfer $650.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's carried. I vote. No good on the developments. Well, we're signing that. The second item, the treasurer collector administrative assistant wages to treasurer collector department expenses. Transfer $1,000 from line 26, administrative assistant, to line 27, for expenses.
John's.
So that's on page
John's.
2,
Is that John's?
and that's to cover a negative.
Peter should have
That's
signed
me.
up here.
And they said also.
Okay, that's to cover on page 2 a negative balance of $540.11. So they're transferring 1,000 to cover that. Any discussion? Okay, can I have a motion to accept this, the transfer?
I'll make a motion to transfer.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried 5-0.
Catholic, are we all done?
Now we've taken care of all the easy stuff. We're approving the interdepartmental transfers.
Okay. Does this need some papers?
Once that's done, then you can pick up
Okay.
minute approval.
Oh, are they all done then?
As soon as we finish
Sign that
signing,
one.
yes.
Okay. Did you start with that one?
That's the second one. We skipped over the reorganization
Okay,
until you arrived.
okay.
And I'll hand it back to you now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was on the road for 2 hours. I never thought it would take that long. But anyway, so did you already have the discussion with Joan?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just mentioned Jack, Steve, and yourself are up for reappointment.
Okay.
And Steve is willing to serve again.
Okay,
You are going to serve again.
Okay.
And I'm going to be talking to Jack Demento family.
Okay.
So
so
the
we'll
appointments
have,
are all effective on July 15th, so
okay,
hopefully by July 15th, have everybody in place.
okay, great. And then, so the next item of agenda is the reorganization. So we had said in our bylaws or whatever, rules of the road that we would re-elect the chairman and the vice chairman each year. So that's what this is about. And I don't know if Joan mentioned, okay, so my news, my term is up, my 2-year term is up this year, the end of this fiscal year. And I had fully intended to stay on, but some changes have taken place. And I'm going to be getting married and moving out of town. So to New Hampshire. So, but it's not happening right away. So I talked to Joan and said I would love to stay on for a period of time until I'm farther along in selling my house, or until such time if people want to join the board. and the finance committee, and if they, it'd be better for them to get involved sooner rather than later, then I would step down. But so as a result, I would not be interested in being chairperson or vice chairperson. Somebody should, from amongst yourselves, should take those positions for continuity. So, anyway, that said, sorry to spring that on you. But that said, do people have interest? And anybody want to nominate themselves or put their name out there to be chairperson or vice chairperson?
Well, I know it's not on his bucket list, but I think Larry would do a fine job. He's been very interested in.
I haven't been interested in
No,
being
you're
the
gonna take-
chairperson.
No, let me finish my sentence.
Excuse me.
Attending meetings. So if that's something that you would consider, I think you would do a fine job.
I would reluctantly consider. I'd much rather see someone with more experience like Janet. So I nominate Janet.
This could go around the table
I
here.
know, because I really think you're up to speed. I think you know as much as I do.
Are you at all interested, Janet?
Not really. Not being chair.
Not being chair? Vice chair?
I would consider vice chair.
Vice chair?
I just don't have the time commitment for something.
Yeah,
And my travel schedule has been ramping up.
right, okay, yep. Any other thoughts? No? Anybody else interested? No? Okay. So, do I have a motion to elect Larry as chairperson for our next fiscal year? Since he so graciously offered. Do I have such a motion?
Good. No, it's the motion.
Steve, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Janet, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No? Okay.
Well,
It's official.
You didn't give me a
She
chance
did
to
the
say
speed
nay.
talking right past that.
Okay, so Larry, congratulations.
Thank you.
A lot to help.
And do I have a motion to elect Janet as the vice chairperson?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay. Okay. All right. Good. So, then next we had no reserve fund transfers, right? So then minutes, I don't think we had any to review.
There are none that have been printed and distributed, so
Okay.
I
Okay.
met with Linda earlier this evening, so just need to get those printed and then, and she's gonna do the May 29th based on my notes in the video.
Okay, okay, great. All right, moving right along. So the next on the agenda was just updates from FinCon reps and liaisons to the different committees and departments in town. And one thing that I wanted to bring up or just go through was that we had received a response from the police chief, Barker. Well, because in the last meeting, many questions were raised about balances in the accounts, which was a valid point raised by Peter, that we should be looking at any significant balances left in any of the accounts at the end of the year. So we were sort of looking through the last statement, which was toward the end of the last month, but it wasn't the end of the month statement. So there were some questions raised, and that was fine. But a lot of attention was focused on the police department budget, and some questions then came to the police chief So he wanted to be sure we had all the details. So I'm just going to read some of his letter that outlines the detailed explanations, just so that, in fairness to anybody watching at the last meeting, they have the explanation. So I won't read the entire thing, but he says, one of the budgets you questioned was police wages, which you reported as $148,000. The line item you've referenced pays for all police and communications center wages except for the chief. This is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation where staffing is required to meet all the public safety needs of the community. The communications center handles requests for aid for not only the police but fire and ambulance as well. On nights and weekends, water, electric, and roadway emergencies are also contacted through the communications center. Your assumption that May's payroll had already been deducted from that figure was incorrect. The town of Rowley pays their employees bi-weekly, and the final May wages were submitted for payment on May 30th, 2013. There were 3 pay periods left, plus 5 days to take us through June 30th. The police department bi-weekly wages from that line item are running approximately $38,000 every 2 weeks, but this figure will very likely increase over the last 2 pay periods due to employees using up all their vacation and holiday benefits, which cannot be carried over from year to year. By using last year's actuals, I estimate we will expend between $125,000 and $132,000, leaving a balance of about $16,000 to $23,000. In July of 2012, we applied for a 9/11 grant, which has been paying the salary of one of our part-time dispatchers, totaling $18,000. This funding was not accounted for in our fiscal year 13 budget since there was no way to know we were going to get it. In addition, I constantly compare this year's actuals with last year's actuals for trends. I found that we were expending more overtime per pay period than the prior year. I added 2 more reserve patrolmen in December to address this, and they have worked a lot of shifts at straight time, thus saving additional funds. If it were not for the grant and the additional officers, I would be likely asking the FinCom for supplemental funds, as have been necessary in previous years. So he says it's a very difficult task to determine exactly how much overtime the police department will expend based on the nature of the work. We can't know what emergencies we will be required to address from one moment to the next. If we were to add just 1 hour of police overtime a day for the year, it makes a difference of $15,700. Considering my projections for the end of the year balance of this account, I believe there is an appropriate amount of money left. So anyway, it's just a very detailed explanation for what appeared to be, a bit of balance left, but it's all accounted for, and in fact he's even been looking at it so closely that he recognized that overtime was going to be an issue, and he adjusted, thereby saving the town money. So all in all, but then his point, and partly he wanted to set the record straight, but partly he asked that we just be cognizant of the fact that we are on TV, and that we shouldn't focus too much on any particular budget or department without knowing the particulars. It's fine to raise a question and then move on, but we just need to be careful, since we are on TV, that we don't belabor any points about any particular department or budget line item, so we don't lead people astray, or people tuning in for a few moments might get the wrong impression. So I think it's a good reminder to all of us that we just be aware of that.
Just want to add, because that letter was addressed to me, that basically, was mentioned about the, first of all, I don't know the pay periods. He was saying there was another pay period, which I wouldn't be privy to. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be privy to the fact if there was extra money in there that was for emergency purposes, which I wouldn't know either. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned before, I wasn't, picking on the police department. I was just mentioning the police because they were the largest, budget, besides it's the education, and water. Yeah. And it kind of like that particular line item stood out. And, and as I mentioned, when I mentioned about this, that I wasn't, focusing specifically on the police per se, only because I was, that one there stood out more than some of the other ones. Yeah. So.
No, I see. I know your point. I just think we do have to be careful not to stick too long on any particular question when we don't have all the answers here. It's good to raise the question in a general way, and then we need to do our homework behind the scenes and then come back. But I just wanted to, on TV, give his explanation for that, because I think that's important to get out there. So, anybody else have any other updates from any of the departments or?
Well, you took care of the police department.
Okay.
That one.
Okay.
A brief update from the water department. The administrative assistant that was recently hired has left her position. As the needs of this position have changed with the hiring of a business manager, the job description is being rewritten by the commissioners before forwarding to the personnel board for approval. Commissioners have interviewed several candidates for the primary and secondary water positions. Some forward movement is expected to fill at least one of these positions. During the interim, they are still having the contractor provide services as the primary operator. This is a part-time position that costs the water department $80 an hour, so the sense of urgency to fill the openings is strong. There have been some structural issues with the design of the vestibule in the new plant. There are other change orders that are pending approval from the water commissioners. The approved change order has set back the delivery date a small amount. And the water commissioners have begun research into the possibility of privatizing the water department. This is only the initial thought, and much more research is needed before they make any decisions about this. But it is something that they are looking at. And I did speak with Laura Hamilton about the membrane costs. She is continuing her research and discovered that the membrane may not be quite as expensive as was originally thought. She does not have any hard numbers, so it's not wise to release what her initial research has shown, and that's still in the investigatory stage.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else, any other updates?
Nothing really new from the Council on Aging or Health or Highway. They don't see any extraordinary expenses from now until the end of the year, and don't see anything changing just yet for 14.
Okay. Anybody else? So it is 7:45. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
I'll make the motion that we
Larry?
adjourn.
Do I have a second? A second. Okay. Jamie, all in favor?
Aye.
Fine.